right, welcome back everybody to another episode of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the video and article that I do for comicbookinvest.com where I talk about those little hidden treasures, those books that still might be tucked away at shops and in those cheap boxes that you might still be able to liberate based on some of the more recent news, rumors, speculation, some first appearances, and things like that. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Continue to keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this channel to do bigger and better things. And yeah, if you want to see what books that I have picked out for this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro and I will be right back. Okay, so I have another pile of selections for you guys based on some of the more recent news and rumors and whatnot, mostly Marvel and DC, but I got a couple of extras this week to share with you as well. But like I said, this is some stuff that's based on things happening in the comics, things announced, some things we know we're getting in TV, movies, etc. But we are going to start off today with Marvel and hitting up the comics, kind of touching on basically the return of Ares. There's a lot of possibilities here with Ares. We have Love and Thunder coming. We know we're getting Zeus. I know I mentioned it before. We talked about Ares like a week or two ago. I still think it's a possibility we might get him in something in the MCU at some point when we start hitting on Dark Avengers and things like that. But before we get there, we can even just focus on the fact that he is back in the comic books, and it looks like he has a whole new kind of a look to him as he is back in Punisher. Recent issue of Punisher, issue number 2. We could see that there's Ares with amongst his followers, a big giant of a man just crushing somebody's face like that. So looks like Ares is back and back with a vengeance. So as I said, who knows what we're going to get going forward. We've already covered a few other options for Ares already because, like I said, we talked about it a week or two ago. So I had to rack my brain to think of some other things that you could keep an eye out for. And the first thing that I came up with was the second miniseries featuring Ares, which is the Dark Avenger Ares series, which only ran for 3 issues. So it should be an easy one for you to scoop up. Pretty solid cover here. I kind of dig this with him just coming right at you. That red, it just kind of pops. And this book is, again, it's not expensive. You can see here, May 1st, a set of the whole miniseries sold for $13.50. A set of the whole miniseries sold for only $8 at the end of April. And the single issue was way back in February just to get this single issue number 1. So you got a better chance of just getting all 3 if you're hunting online. But look for all 3 when you're hunting in the boxes, because if you can get all 3, for $1 a piece, you got the whole mini for less than cover. So can't go wrong there. Interesting little read. Like I said, interesting little mini series. And if we do get any sort of Dark Avengers team and Ares showing up in the MCU, you will be ahead of the game. And if not, well, you got yourself a decent little mini series for basically no money at all. So just factor that in too. When we're doing these dollar bin ideas, some of these things are going to be things that can make money, but other things just might be just things that are just for you to have and just to read, and you never know what could happen. So that's part of the fun with this little scavenger hunt. And if you want to go hunting for this online, you can see there's cheap copies, $1.60, $2.40. You can get you that just first issue if that's all you're looking for, or you can buy the whole set for like $9. Again, 3 issues in this run. It's not that big a deal. Now, what could we see? Maybe we do get an Ares appearance in Love and Thunder, like really quickly, with Zeus and maybe some of the other gods, and maybe they all get destroyed and killed off by Gore. That's possible as well. If you're interested in the death of Ares, well, he did die in the comics, but he died in the Siege miniseries, but he was killed by Sentry. Now, I don't know if we're going to be getting Sentry anytime soon in the MCU. It would be kind of fun, would be kind of interesting, but I don't think they're going to adapt this like straight one for one either. So this is just kind of one of those fun little things. Again, you can hunt out there. Siege was one of those Marvel events, so it's heavily printed. There's a lot of them out there, so these are not that expensive. So even just for the read alone, you can go and pick these up for cheap. And it was a fun little series dealing with the gods and Thor, and you had Sentry. And here you can see straight up, Sentry just rips Ares apart, like literally rips him apart. A little graphic when you look at this panel, but pretty awesome when you consider it. And as I said, that was in Siege number 2 where that occurred. So if you want to go look for that single issue, you can, and you can see 2 bids, 99 cents. back in February, but you can easily get the whole miniseries, the full set, 850 for all 4 of them. So even the whole run is cheap. So keep an eye out for the whole run when you're digging in the bins. I'm just focusing in on issue 2 because that's where something that kind of ties into what we're talking about happened. So that's the only reason why we're spotlighting number 2. But go ahead and grab all 4 if you find them. And if you go hunt, even looking online on eBay, you can see $2 for the single issue 2, or $12 is really the kind of basic asking price for all 4 from this miniseries. Once again, not expensive comics we're talking about here, folks. Another one, we're going to tap back into Chaos War, which we talked about already. I brought that one up because, again, you had, I can't remember the Japanese fear god, chaos god was the one killing everyone. And then I kind of said, well, maybe they take some of that and let Gore do it. It's still possible. But just bringing this series back up, this is when we did get Ares' return from Sentries ripping him into pieces. He did return in this series in Chaos War issue 2. So that's one you just want to keep an eye out for. Again, like I already told you about a couple weeks ago, but just reminding you, $6, $13 for the whole run, and not even the whole run, for a lot that had like 5 or 6 issues, and at 50 cents, like 50 cents, even online, this sold for this issue 2. And then you can see asking prices $3 to $4, or the whole 5-issue set for $10. Cheap. The stuff is cheap. And then that's not the only time Ares has returned, because we did get him returning in Contest of Champions. This is a more recent run of issues. And I know everybody looks for that issue 1 because I think it's first appearance of White Fox. And yes, obviously keep an eye out for it. But, issue 2 has got the return of Ares. So there's something for everybody in this run. And this whole run can actually be pretty affordable. I mean, when you look at it, it looks like that whole run, there's a lot there of a whole bunch of comics for $29. Or just a single issue for only $3.74. So not selling for a lot. You look for copies online, they're asking for $1.50, $4.63. Just, again, not an expensive book. Just one of those odd little things you can go ahead and keep an eye out for. Plus, it's got a cool Maestro versus Ares cover. Not bad if you're into that kind of thing. But as I'm talking about, this is dollar bin digging. So I'm just saying, if you see it for $1, it's probably worth scooping up. After that or above that, that's a call you make on your own, what you want to do. So not telling you go buying in at market prices. I'm not even telling you go buying in at cover prices. You can still make the decision for yourself if any of this is interesting to you. I'm just saying, consider it if you find it in those cheap boxes, in those dollar bins. Now, with that said, we are going to hop over to DC real quick and get to some of the leaks that we had regarding the Black Adam movie. And that is related to a little bit of a sneak peek at the back of the Funko Pops that looks like we may be getting Sabak in the movie, because, well, they're going to have a pop for him. That's usually a good indicator, because all those other characters have been confirmed for the movie with Dr. Fate, Hawkman, Atom Smasher, Cyclone. We know these characters have been cast and they're in the film, so it's a good chance Sabak will show up as well. There's an original that goes kind of far back and might be a little bit expensive, so we're not going to talk about that. We will talk about the death of the original and the introduction of the newer version of Sabak, and that was in Outsiders number 8. So this one was I think it's like 2004. Yeah, it looks like it's 2004. So still a while back, but in this issue, this Outsider with pretty cool Huntress Nightwing cover. Inside, we do get introduced to the new Sabak there, and pretty awesome image when you take a look at that. Now, this thing, I know, I think there was an alert that went out with this not that long ago, so this book kind of already started getting expensive over the last few days. But if you go ahead and back a little bit before then, you can see this would only sell for like $2 online. Or up to $15. Both of those sales on May 2nd. Because like I said, there was an alert a few days ago causing some of these numbers to go up. Because right now, you're looking at a lot of the asks. While there is a $12 one, a lot of them more in that $30 plus kind of range asking prices. So buying this online is probably not a good idea. But it's an Outsiders book. Nobody's buying. Nobody's looking for Outsiders. Go dig in those cheap boxes, because there are probably copies of it out there. This old school DC stuff, because this wasn't in big demand before this little bit of news. So there's still a chance your shop or a place near you that's not really heavily trafficked might still have an old book like this just tucked away in a cheap box. So there you go. Maybe you can go make yourself a couple of bucks. We'll bounce back over to Marvel for the next one. And this isn't really anything apart from this. Is going to be pure speculation. So that's why we have this in here as well. Captain Marvel 2's release date where they kind of moved it back, flip flopped with Quantum Mania. So this is going to be coming out in more of July. This could be kind of the end of Phase 4, and this article that I just kind of used as kind of the jumping off point, just talking about Captain Marvel 2 could be the jumping off point of maybe Phase 5. And I know Marco was has been talking about it and referencing this over the last few months. Seems like forever now. But me and him just talking about comics and stuff. And I agree. I would love to see more of this cosmic stuff. So hopefully, the Captain Marvel 2 might jumpstart us into some more cosmic adventures, things away from Earth. Like I want to see stuff go out there. So maybe we start getting hints and teases towards Annihilation, which would be awesome if we can get it. I know we're going to get Nova. We get a lot of things tied in here. Maybe we get some inkling that we're getting the Annihilation wave coming our way. So you could still find these Annihilation books pretty cheap. Well, a couple of them are expensive because they do have some firsts appearances in them and some decent covers. But you start looking at things like this Annihilation prologue book, which was before the 6-issue mini started. You can see $6, $4. It's not an expensive book on the market right now, and even asking prices. Yeah, there's ones like $10, $9, but there's still copies that are only like $2, even online. So this is the one you might still be able to find in those cheap boxes, in those dollar boxes. Scoop them up now before we get any concrete news. Yes, this is again a pure speculation kind of pick. So just grab them for cheap if you can find them. This is for the prologue or any of the other Annihilation regular run books too. Just complete the whole miniseries if you can, because it's an awesome read. In addition to the fact that maybe we get something, I don't know. The other outside shot of something I would love to see, but I don't know if there's enough set up for it, is I would love to see them actually do like War of Kings too. Like War of Kings would be a cool thing. I mean, we get Kree, you got all the space stuff, and we already got Captain Marvel connected with the Kree. So I would love to see like Gladiator, and I know the Inhumans could be a little tough to work them in. And yes, this series also has the X-Men mixed in as well because of the third Summers brother. But who knows what we could get introduced to with the cosmic side of things. Like the canvas is blank. They can tell us whatever story they want. They can cherry pick whatever bits they like from any of these tales and just reuse the title. I mean, because Age of Ultron wasn't about the actual comic storyline of Age of Ultron, but we got an Age of Ultron for Avengers 2. So who knows? They could just use the title. They could just use some of the ideas, some of the characters. But this is, again, another fun little cosmic crossover event that you could still get out there for cheap. 6-issue mini total. There's a lot of connective books to this, other side minis and prologues and teases spinning out of Secret Invasion, which is another series we're going to be getting on Disney Plus. Again, Skrulls, Kree, we're getting more space stuff. Some of this stuff could be on the table, so grab it now for cheap if you find it in a box. You can see here War of Kings 1 through 5 plus a one shot. So that's not the complete run, but it's near complete. Only $13. That's not bad for 6 issues, and it's almost the whole mini series. And if you want to go buy the whole series, you can see even online, it's like $25 to get all 6. Then there's a lot that has 24 books that has all 6, plus a lot of those extras and minis I was talking about. So there's 24 comics for $24.95. That's basically $1 a book, even online. And then you can see $1.50 just for issue 1. So this stuff is still really cheap. Go and get it now before everybody else is buying it up. And again, maybe nothing comes of it. Maybe nothing comes of it. But at least you still have a solid read then. And that's what comics are all about anyway. Don't get too caught up in all of the speculation and try to make money. Let's enjoy books too. So even for the pure enjoyment factor, get these for cheap while they're still cheap. That said, moving back over to DC. This is going to be an odd thing. I hope, well, I don't want to say that hope. I doubt we're going to get this, but they could. I don't know. This is a tricky one. This is going to be a tricky one. But there are rumors that we could be seeing the Aquababy, Mera and Aquaman's son in this movie. And if you know the history of what happens between Black Manta and Aquaman, you know that Black Manta basically murders his son. He murders a kid. And it happens in Adventure Comics 452. So right in here, as Black Manta kind of sets it up where the old school Aqualad and Aquaman have to face each other for different reasons. They got to fight each other like basically to the death. While this is all going on, his son is in a little chamber that is basically devoid of water because he needs water to breathe. He can't breathe air like Aquaman. It basically just suffocates the kid to death, or however, it's not reverse drowning because he needs water. He doesn't get the water, so it's an awful thing. I don't know if DC has the balls to put this into a movie, but who knows? Maybe they do. Maybe they ramp this thing up and we get something. But this is, I know a lot of people point to kind of this is when DC started going a little bit dark, and maybe it is. Maybe this is the case, and maybe this is something we get. I don't know. This is a long shot, but just in case it happens, just be aware of it. And I know this is kind of an old school book. This is from, I think, 1977. This is going to be kind of a tough book for you to go pull out of those dollar bins, but maybe it is in a cheap box, that's old school. Maybe it's beat up, like who knows? But copies of this surprisingly aren't that expensive. Even if you look at copies that have sold recently, May 3rd, $5, $18, another $5 sale. And this is all stuff that only goes back to April 30th. So that's within the week. 2 copies have sold for $5, even online. Granted, the asking prices right now are a little bit more. With I think the cheapest copy I could find was like 18, and there's 28, 30, $40 kind of things. So a lot of different prices are all over. I mean, conditions going to be very heavily influencing that price, and who knows what else might come to market. But just keep an eye open for it. Obviously, if you want to find one for cheap, because there have been cheap copies before. There's no commitment or confirmation that this is going to happen. So this is still one of those things. It could happen, could not happen. So if you're interested, keep hunting, go looking for those books. There's an outside shot. You can find that in the dollar bin. That's all I'm saying. That's why I want to let you know there is a chance, because some adventure comics, I see a lot of DC, I don't want to say junk, but a lot of it is junk to me. But I'm not a DC guy that much, so sorry if I offend you if I say. But there's a lot of old school books that fill a lot of those books, and plenty of Marvel crap too. Don't get me wrong. But that said, keep an eye out for it just in case. Gonna go switching over to the indie side of things a little bit for the last 2 books that I want to talk about, or last 2 topics. And the first one being James Bond. Yes, we know Daniel Craig's done doing James Bond, and this is just an article that's saying, hey, it's going to take them time before they find that replacement. Nothing really tied to any announcements or anything for us to move on, but it just kind of reminded me. It's like, I don't know if you guys remember when Dynamite did a few actual runs of James Bond comics, but I think this was the first one they did. This Vargr, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Vargr, this mini series, $4. There were a ton. If you know Dynamite, they do lots of covers. And there were a lot of covers for this, and a lot of incentives, a lot of high ratio incentives. And a lot of those high ratio incentives are even still very cheap. Like I think there's a 1 in 60 jock cover that still you can go get for $5 online if you wanted to. So this is the thing that I'm talking. This is some really cheap books. I have not read these. These are things I'm just kind of looking into myself, because I'm like, let me look into James Bond. And I remembered flipping past plenty of James Bond books and these Dynamite books in the cheap boxes. And it just says, it's just reminding me, I want to go look again this weekend. So say, hey, let me go see what I can find. So I figured, you know what? Let's take a quick look for you guys. And this is still cheap. Look, $1.35, $2 online for issue 1 of this series. And like I said, I think this is when Dynamite started in 2015 with this James Bond, I guess, intellectual property. I think that's maybe when they started doing these. And then if you want to buy copies, still $2, $1.79. Not expensive at all. And like I said, tons of variants, tons of covers for this. There's store variants, there's incentive variants, just a lot of variants, a lot of covers, and a lot of them are still very, very cheap, despite being high ratio books. So if you're interested, go take a look. You see what I'm talking about. That's the first one of the oddball things. And I'm going to wrap it up here with another bit of oddball stuff. Now, these are going to be tough to find. I'm not saying you're going to find these in the dollar bins, but just be aware of them. Sonic, as we've been talking about again on the tax show, Sonic, kids love Sonic. My son loves Sonic. That's all he wants to talk about these days is Sonic, Sonic, Sonic. Love the movie. Movie's a hit. We're getting another movie. So if you haven't seen Sonic 2, you can leave, because I'm going to kind of spoil things a little bit from the teaser, little after credit scene from Sonic 2. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead. I'll see you guys next week. But if you don't care, or you have seen the movie, which I suggest you do because it's pretty good, we're going to get into what we saw at the end of it and what it could mean for comic books. But Sonic books are getting pretty expensive. Just going to say that generally. Before we move on, Sonic books have been getting kind of expensive, and I remember having a shot at a lot of them for very cheap, and I did not take it, and now I regret it heavily. But we'll see. Maybe I can still find some of them out there. Maybe I'll do some hidden gems related to some other books that might be able to be found out there. But we're going to go with these two options for you. Yes, we're going to get Shadow. At the end of this movie, we get a little tease that Shadow is there. created in this chamber. So we are going to get the character Shadow. And I know he's a popular character in the Sonic universe. I don't know Sonic all that well. So bear with me. I'm going off a lot of stuff that a 9-year-old's explaining to me. So I can tell you, though, that his first appearance in comics in issue number 98 of the Archie Adventures one, Sonic the Hedgehog, this is a book. If you find it, make sure you get it because this thing sells. Bunch of sales lately. These are just two examples. The last sale, April 28th, at auction, raw, $255. 9.6, $260, and that's a newsstand, by the way. That 9.6 too. I saw with the barcode, also about $260. A lot of other $200 sales on this thing, $150 to $200. A lot of sales going back over the last couple of months. So this is probably a hard to find book. I mean, I haven't found it. I'm just saying this is probably gonna be a tough to find book, but just be aware of its existence in case you luck into it when you're flipping through Sonic stuff. That's all I'm trying to give you that information for. And because you don't want to go looking online. So you go looking online, the only one I found is this raw copy that's pretty beat up actually, and they want $1,500. I mean, God bless them. See if they get it, but this is the only one I could find online right now. So could be a tough book, and a lot of people are looking at Shadow right now, I guess, based off of this little sneak appearance. But let's not just stop there. In Sonic 2, we got Tails, we got Knuckles, we got this tease for Shadow coming down the line. There are still more characters out there that we don't have any confirmation that they will show up, but maybe we should start thinking ahead. And one of those characters is another one. Again, my son keeps telling me about, keeps explaining to me. Amy Rose is another character. This is just something I pulled off online that they had this possibility that maybe they make her. Maybe this is what she'll look like. I don't know, but there's also her in the video games. This is another character we might see in the next movie. They're going to keep giving us more Sonic characters, more expanding the universe. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe she even shows up in the Knuckles series because I think we're getting like a Knuckles TV series as well. So who knows where these things might pop up. So we should also pay attention to this. And this next book is kind of a double shot because it's also Mecha Sonic. So you got like a robot Sonic in this book as well, which is really the driving factor on the price in a lot of these listings. But this is also Amy's first appearance in comics. I think there's like magazines, and of course she showed up in video games first, but I'm pretty sure from what I could dig out until we start getting into the weeds of like maybe foreign issues and some of these magazines and whether they're comics. This is probably Topher level, let him go and research this. But from what I could quickly gather, this issue 25 was the intro to Amy as well as the Mecha Sonic. So yeah, she's her being introduced here as a character into the comics. So this is another one you should probably be mindful of when you're out there. And you can see $30 was a recent sale on May 2nd. And then if you want to go look at what's online right now, their asks are pretty high, $80 to $150. So there's another one that's going to be tough. You're not going to want to buy online. You're not going to buy in at those prices. But if you get lucky, you find some Sonic comics at your shop, be mindful. Be mindful of it. Keep an eye out for these. These are ones you definitely want to know. And like I said, maybe next week on Hidden Gems, I'll give you a few more ones that you can keep an eye out for. Maybe some low print stuff, maybe some just cool covers, ones that sell pretty well that you just might not be aware of. So maybe we'll get into that for, like I said, Hidden Gems next week. But for now, that's what I got for you. Hopefully you enjoy that. Hopefully you enjoy this series as well as everything else here on the channel. I'm still having a hell of a good time doing this stuff. Hopefully you're enjoying it as well. Thank you all for stopping by and checking this out. I appreciate, the views. Go check out the article over on comicbookinvest.com as well. Like I said, let me know what you think in the comment section. Give me some feedback. Let me know. Give me some suggestions on stuff you want me to dig into. Tell me about some things that you found in the dollar boxes lately. I love seeing people's pickups. So tell me what you've been digging out of the cheap boxes. Show off. Go ahead, brag. I don't mind. Feel free. Tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see what you guys are digging out of those boxes. And with that, like I said, thanks again. And I will see you soon with some more content. Later.